Hey, it's me, Ashley. I know I'm a little behind on finishing up the 50 Shades of Grey trilogy, so today I'll be discussing the third and final book. It is called 50 Shades Freed, and in this point in the series, Anna Steele and Christian Grey are now married at this point. If you read it at all, you'll learn they got engaged in the second book, so obviously in the third book they're going to be married. And the beginning of the book takes you on their honeymoon. You learn a little bit about the wedding. Like, Anna has like a quick flashback, so you learn details about the wedding that way. But like I said, they're on their honeymoon at this point, and the couple are happy and in love, and Christian's being superly romantic. He's showering his new wife with gifts, and Anna's trying to wrap her head around the fact that Christian's wealth is now their wealth. So it humbles her a little bit. And she's also questioning whether or not she married too soon, because she's still in her early 20s, and this is her only serious relationship she's ever had. And they only dated for a couple of months before getting to the point of getting married. So, reality situation, the two of them still have a lot to learn about each other. But the good thing about these two main characters at this point, they become slightly more tolerable to me. Especially Anna. She becomes more fiery. She grows more of the backbone, the set of cojones that she needed to have in the first and second book. So I slightly like that about her. Don't get it twisted. She still bugged the fuck out of me. But she becomes more assertive, especially when it comes to dealing with her husband. So you can tell she grows up a little bit. And Christian, he shows a growth too. He's not as isolated as I guess that's the word I will use. He's not as isolated as he seems to be in the first and second book. So he becomes more personable. Like I said, he's more romantic towards his wife, obviously. But he's also more personable, more human towards other people, especially his own family and Anna's peers. So it was nice to see him become a little more engaging. However, I still didn't like him, not because of the fact that he was written as super perfect, but because he was a control freak. And I get it, it's in his nature, it's who he is, but came off kind of a dick to me. I'm gonna be blunt by it. Came off kind of a dick, especially when it came to Anna. Like, I understand, like, he shelters her. He wants to shelter her to protect her, but he just, to me, just seemed very disrespectful. I mean, like, he controls what she ate, what she wore, what time to eat, even try to control her career. I don't want to go into too much detail, but she works for a publishing company, basically, and he does something with her publishing company, and the way he handled the situation to me was very out of line. And Anna feels the same way, and she voices her opinion about how she doesn't like what he did, but instead of standing behind her convictions at the end of the day, like after everything's said and done, she kind of backs down. So that kind of annoyed me, because she's more assertive, but she still kind of walked on eggshells as far as Christian was concerned, so it kind of contradicts with her new attitude. So like I said, she still annoyed me. One thing I'll say about this particular book, the subplots within this third book aren't as cohesive as they are in the second book. To me, they're actually kind of all over the place. There's some good plots going on. Like, for example, Jack Hyde, Anna's old boss that was mentioned in the second book, he makes an appearance in the third book, and he has a very strange connection to Christian. So that added much needed excitement. But there was like one storyline that I felt was really fucking stupid. Layla, if you don't know who Layla is, she's one of Christian's old submissives. She basically added all the drama in the second book. She makes an appearance too, and she's basically just insisting on meeting Anna, you know, I guess to get closure on why is Anna so special that she's now Mrs. Grey. And, you know, I kind of get it, you know, I understand this poor girl needed closure, but it's just, with everything else that was going on in the book, I think that was one thing that they really didn't need to add. Another good plot is Anna has a secret of her own in this book, and it's very life-changing, and it adds drama within the couple. So, like I said, there's some good points. There's some good subplots, like, so, because it adds much needed excitement that needed to be. I'm not gonna say it adds depth, because, like I said, they weren't as well written as they were in the second book. It adds depth, like, amongst all the sex that's going on. But just the way the plots were written in this book, like I said, they were all over the place, and to me, it just once again proves that the series as a whole was just poorly written. So that's just my opinion. And although I've been sharing the opinion of many others too, but I'll get into that later. Plus, with everything going on, like I said, there was a lot going on in this book. Instead of bringing the couple closer together, which in a way it kind of does, just the way Christian handles everything kind of pissed me off, because he keeps Anna in the dark about a lot of things. Like, I get it, he's doing it to protect her. He wants to protect the ones he loves, so he'd rather keep her in the dark and try to handle things on his own. But just at this point, they're married, and I feel he needed to treat Anna as his equal, and he just refused to. And I guess it didn't sit well with me being a married woman myself, that I feel if you're married to someone, marriage should be an equal partnership. And just the way these two characters are written, it just didn't come off that way. Like, I get it, Christian's the breadwinner in the marriage, you know, he's obviously a little bit older than Anna. Like, I think he's in his late 20s, and so he has a little bit more, I guess, quote-unquote life experience, but he chose to spend the rest of his life with this woman. He loves her, and I feel if you love somebody, you should treat them, you know, give them equal treatment. I'm sorry, I'm stuttering because I'm going on a tangent right now. I'm not trying not to be all over the place, but just the way their dynamic was just didn't sit well with me. Like, I didn't like it at all. I guess what I will say about this book, it ends in a predictable way. The couple gets their happily ever after. No shit, you know. So, you know, that was expected. I guess the only good thing I will say I liked about this book, because I really wasn't a fan of the series, but the good thing about this book, though, it ties up a lot of loose ends, like, especially as far as Christian Grey is concerned. Like, Christian finally goes into his relationship with Elena. If you don't know who Elena is, she's basically Mrs. Robinson. She's mentioned a lot in the first and second book. She introduced Christian to his... I really didn't want to use this stupid term because it was used in the book, but it's the only way to explain the relationship. She introduces Christian to kinky fuckery. So stupid. But so he finally discusses how things got started, and you know, he doesn't go into too much detail, but he finally talks about it. So he gets closure about everything, and in a way Anna gets closure about everything too, because it kind of always bothered her that they had that kind of relationship. So it was nice to finally get that out of the way. And Elena actually does make a slight cameo in the third book that adds a little bit of conflict. So that was interesting too. So it was kind of cool to see Christian finally getting closure about everything. And like I said, the book... Sorry, I just flicked over RAM. So in a way, the couple gets their happily ever after and all that crap. So, I guess the only good thing that I liked about the book is that after the author wrote "and they lived happily ever after, the end," the author actually adds like 3 little vignettes after that shows certain things that happen in Christian's life in his point of view. And the way that was written seemed a lot better than how the whole series was written, because it was kind of cool to see things through his perspective. For example, I guess I could break down the 3 little vignettes. I won't go into too much detail. The first one talks about his childhood, I guess when he first got adopted. And it was kind of cute, you know, to see him trying to readjust to this new family. And then the second and third vignette is basically breaking down. The second vignette shows him meeting Anna for the first time, and it was kind of cool to see their meeting through his eyes, because how that was written, I mean, it was kind of fucked up, it was kind of perverted, because he just basically wanted to fuck this girl, but just the way it was written seemed a lot, it caught my eye more than how to see everything through Anna's point of view, because like I said, I didn't like Anna. I really didn't. I felt the character development throughout the whole book was like really poorly written, but it would have been I probably would have loved this series more if everything was written through Christian's point of view, but then again, women probably wouldn't appeal to it. But that's just me. And then the third vignette, basically, if you don't, like, he goes to the hardware store and he basically he deliberately goes out of his way to see Anna again, instead of, because in the first book you think Anna's like questioning whether or not it was just fate, but then you learn it's not fate and stuff. Like, he can't get this girl out of his mind. So it was like just the way those three vignettes were written kind of appealed to me more than the whole series, which is kind of strange. Although the way she crammed it in toward, like, after "and they lived happily ever after," the end kind of pissed me off a little bit, because I think that could have just been like a separate series, or, you know, like a short book or a novella or something. It just could have been separate. Like, I just didn't like how it was crammed at the end. So I guess what I'll say about this third book overall, it was okay. It ties up a lot of loose ends. I personally am not a fan of the series. Realistically, I feel like the couple shouldn't be together. Because like I said, the character development to me was kind of shitty. And just realistically, I feel like, okay, yeah, they get their happily ever after, but like I said, the way these characters are written, I wouldn't be surprised if they got divorced. Because like I said, they still have a lot to learn about each other. But that's just me. Maybe because I'm jaded. And maybe that's why I wasn't a fan of the series, because I don't get why it's a bestseller. It was poorly written. I mean, I get it, the author basically focused on sex, so I get that, she got her point across, but I've read a lot more romance novels that had a little bit more depth than this whole entire series. And actually, there's like another trilogy that's similar to this called the Sleeping Beauty trilogy that's written a lot better than this 50 Shades of Grey trilogy. And actually, I'm not going to say I wouldn't recommend 50 Shades of Grey. I personally didn't like it. You can pick it up if you want to, just to see what all the hoopla is. I personally wouldn't read it again, but that's just me. I would actually recommend reading the Sleeping Beauty trilogy. It was written by Anne Rice. You can pick it up at Barnes & Noble. I think the books are like $10-15 a piece. You can actually get like the trilogy for like $50, or you could probably get it on Amazon like cheaper. Whatever. So I would actually recommend that, but I personally wouldn't recommend 50 Shades of Grey. Would I pick this up again and read it? Maybe if I got fucking bored or something. Or just maybe to motivate myself to finish my own book, which I'm working on. But like I said, I wasn't a fan. Definitely wasn't a fan of this one. And I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not going to badmouth it, but like I said, the series didn't sit well with me.